My name is Christopher Patnoe. I lead accessibility and disability innovation for EMEA. So my responsibility is to try to make relationships and understand the needs of the community in Africa, in Middle East, and in Europe. And right now I'm sitting in a hotel lobby at Inclusive Africa in Nairobi.
And you're on our show again, Christopher. It's
Again,
wonderful to have you
you
back.
keep asking me back. I'll have to do better next time.
And
We're so sorry, Chris.
I'm
listen,
really
we're
sorry
so
for
pleased.
you.
So pleased that you're here. And I've got to say, there's been a lot of Google love over here at Double Tap, which has surprised some of our audience, I'll be honest. But, I've got to say, and I'll just jump in with this. I mean, Gemini is really, really good. Really enjoying it.
It's getting
and,
there. It's getting there.
Yeah, it is. It is really getting there. And of course, it's infiltrating so much of the accessibility suite as well, which is wonderful. Of course, the big news of TalkBack 16 was that Gemini with the image descriptions was getting follow-up mode. So, it really is embedding itself into accessibility. And I guess that's a story of where we're going, isn't it?
I think AI is basically a Lego. I think of technology as Legos, and this is a Lego that can be put in many different places. But what's cool is when you work with someone to understand what the needs are, you can turn this Lego into different things. So it gets a Lego meets Play-Doh because you can put it anywhere and it works, but then you can adapt it to meet the needs. So for the blind community, we can do the amazing things in terms of descriptions and follow on. But for the deaf communities, we have these great large language models that make captions and things like that easier as well. So the technology evolves in neat ways, but it has to be done and continues to be done in concert with the community.
Yeah, there's been so much. I mean, you mentioned that, of course, and SignGemma was one of the big projects of the year as well, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
So impressive how, the system is able to identify sign language and then turn that into text. I talk, and I've mentioned it on the show before, Chris, I worked in a building years ago where I was working with deaf people, and deaf people and blind people couldn't communicate with each other. We just couldn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
That was a real issue. And I know that's an issue for many deaf people. They face it every single day. But, I felt, especially as a blind person, I couldn't even attempt to communicate. I had no idea. And being able to use technology to help would just break down all those barriers from people who are supposed to be working in the same field.
But that's the whole thing of technology. The technology becomes the bridge between people, becomes the bridge between the person and that thing that wasn't designed to be accessible. And something like SignGemma, and it's still early days, but it was deaf. It's been led by deaf people, partnered with deaf people, so it's been really engaged with the community. And frankly, we've not done a great job in sort of sharing this message. I'm hoping we can do that better. But this really came from the community, and it's a step in terms of really taking technology and making it possible for people to communicate. And interpretation from sign into text is one thing. Going the other way around is that next big step. And when that happens, now you have the opportunity to allow someone to truly communicate in their own language. And that's so meaningful.
It just is. Yeah, that's another theme I'm picking up from Inclusive Africa. It's communication, networking, youth. I mean, but yeah, it's just the networking aspect. I mean, people, obviously, the networking aspect is so key, so critical. I'm interested to know what you've taken away from Inclusive Africa yourself.
We were trying to figure this out. This is our fourth time in Nairobi to do this, and we participated virtually in the first two. So we've been part of it every year. And what I take away is a deep admiration of the hustle of in the different countries in Africa. There's a hustle to build, to grow, to make my own business, to be my own consultant. It's palpable, the excitement and energy that's here, the hunger and recognition that technology is the key to making a lot of these things better. And since Africa is a mobile-first continent, they skipped the whole laptop thing. They skipped the whole desktop thing. It went straight to mobile devices. So in Africa, M-Pesa, they were doing mobile money 20 years ago, and it was accessible. Only now are we coming back to making it accessible. But that's the other part of what's exciting for me is we're starting to see more and more industry come to the table, partner with the community to understand what are those opportunities and how do we make our products better? Because one, it's good for business, but two, it's important for the community.
I mean, a lot of times I think people will ask you, okay, why are you there? What is your message you're sending? But is it more about listening, learning from people there and actually taking that back to the teams at Google? Is that the purpose really for you?
Absolutely. A lot of people have come to asking for money. That's fine. That's understandable.
Yeah.
But it is really about my taking stories and bringing it back inside Google to make this real. An interesting example is we've had this application called Live Transcribe. It's been around for many years, and we have a pretty good Swahili version. But someone came to us and said, "Well, do you have it in Luo, which is a local language here in Kenya?" And we don't. And he said, "Can you use Swahili?" So, well, yeah, I can use Swahili at work, but my church is in Luo. If I can have Luo, I can go to church again. And these are the kind of stories that bring it to life in a way that reading a paper on language diversity in a country just doesn't give you. And both of those are important. You need to understand what's the most important, but also why is it important? And these are the things that we get by being here, by being proximate in the community as best we can.
I mean, I can't not talk about the amazing announcements at Google I/O with you, because, I mean, there's a lot of them that might not necessarily fall under the category of accessibility. I argue they do. I think about VO3, this amazing creation tool for video and audio as well now. This is the thing that's kind of made us quite interested. You know, you can create videos with sound effects, even dialogue, all these kind of things. A great video you published at Google of a detective shouting at a duck and demanding where he was of the night of the bath, I believe was the video. It was very, very funny. And the duck just squeaks its way through an answer, which I just thought was hilarious. But the thing is, you know, the creativeness in this and the ability for us to start having tools like that will enable the next generation of creators. And that's something that's actually a big theme at the conference this year in Inclusive Africa, is allowing creators not just to become creators, but become entrepreneurs, to actually take it to the next level, have their voice heard, but have that voice be monetized as well. And it's tools like this that will help, right?
It can. I think we need to be thoughtful of how these things are shared and how this information is out, because you want to make sure that these voices are authentic and people don't use it for nefarious things. I'm not worried about, because I think that's a general question. And fortunately at Google, we've done all of the thoughtful things we can with synthetic and things like that. So we can help create content. But what's really exciting is the youth in Africa. It is predominantly a youth culture, and it's going to get more so over time. So this is where all the innovation is happening. This is where people are creating that next generation. So the VO becomes another Lego block in a creative process. And then you have the ability to have Gemini take a look at this video that may not have audio description, but can give you an audio description. So these things can start to feed on top of each other. You can create a pipeline of self-use. Like if you can send me a video that doesn't have audio description, I can add one for myself. I can tell me what's happening in this video. That's really cool. So if someone doesn't do it for me, I can do it for myself.
Yeah, is AI the answer? Simple as that. Is AI the answer for everything now? Because every question we seem to ask to anyone, it seems like, yeah, AI will solve that. And it seems almost like flippant to say that, but is it in fact true?
I think it's part of an answer. I will never say it is the answer, because people are important. It is us we are trying to serve. It is us we are trying to survive. We are the answer. AI is the tool.
Oh, that's good.
But I think to just
write that one down. I want to remember this one.
That is good. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. But I think just to kind of go further into that though, because I think what Sean's getting at is when it comes to accessibility, we have all the daily challenges we have, inaccessible websites, apps that aren't labeled properly. There's all these things that happen all the time. Can AI be the solution to that? I mean, I'm not suggesting it's and I'm sure Sean isn't suggesting it's the.
I am.
Okay, maybe you are saying it's.
I think it'll fix everything.
Problems. Okay, fine. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I think instead. I think
it'll take a while.
Yeah. Let's stick with the inaccessible apps and websites for now. I mean, can it be the solution there? And actually, the big question is, does it let the developers off the hook if suddenly AI can solve all of that?
We thought about this when we did the first set of automatic alt text in Chrome. Are we letting the developers off the hook? And we realized that it is better to help everyone a little bit, because the world is such an unbalanced and inaccessible place, than to worry about someone not participating and not doing the right thing. because then at least everyone has a chance to engage. But then what gets to happen is those people who want to engage with the community, then they're going to take the effort, and now you're going to be able to compete on who is the best as opposed to who is okay. So I don't think it lets them off the hook, but it makes a more even experience for everyone. And for those companies and those people who want to create content and build products and target and partner with people with people with disabilities, that's when they get to compete. So it becomes an advantage to be good as opposed to being mediocre. But I'd rather have everybody mediocre and some people be great than some people be meh and other things just be rubbish.
Not there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So so back to the question, it is part of the answer. And you're seeing, I mean, now the Google Chrome has reading mode, so it can help people with dyslexia. It has captions, so it can help, and the captions go to refreshable braille display. So Chrome browser can help people who are deafblind, even in something where you don't have a transcript. So AI becomes part of the pipeline. It becomes an answer, not the answer. Because again, we're trying to help humans. We are humans helping humans, and the AI is a part of doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, the next question has to be around. We're all tiptoeing around here, kind of like, should we mention it? Should we not mention it?
Mention it.
Android XR. I mean, come on. This is just like, come on. This is going to be amazing, right? We get to that bit of the Google I/O event, and we're all like, right, woo, woo, etc. Because we're like, this is going to be great. We just want glasses. I'll tell you, my favorite bit of that whole thing was the line when it talked about the glasses that are coming as being or having an optional screen. And I think for us in the blind community, certainly us, we were like, oh, thank God.
There was a large few.
Yeah, because I think we kind of felt, is this going to be screen focused? And to be perfectly honest with you, Christopher, I don't think that Google would ever be a company that would just focus on that. I don't think that's that company. But I think that there's a concern that the focus is around the screen. And that was certainly something that was made clear. That's not the case in these initial glasses, that the screen would be optional. What can you tell us about where we're going here? I know there's limited, you could probably say, but what can you tell us?
I can't tell you anything what's happening on the inside, but I can tell you a way to think about it is the platform, it needs to be expandable and support all of the needs. So we want to make sure the experience of a screen is as good as the experience without a screen. But no one company is going to make everything for everyone. So if a company wants to build the Meta AIs of today, those have no screen. But if someone wants to have a screen for caption use case, for example, put in the caption use case. Or if for someone who is sighted, who wants to go find the best bar close by, they may want to choose one or the other. So I think at a platform perspective, we want to be agnostic of the solution, but empower people to create the solutions that the customers will want.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about the screen version because of the caption opportunity. I saw a prototype a number of years ago where we had the inline captions, and it was the same. And it was a similar prototype that was put onto the TED Talk recently. So the technology exists. The hard part isn't necessarily the software. The hard part is building the glasses at scale, at cost, and have it be something that people want to look at.
Yeah, that's always the challenge, but I think we're getting there. There's no doubt we're getting there with that. It's so, I love the perspective you bring on that, because I think, Sean and I have talked about this off air, on air. We say, oh, I hope it doesn't have a screen. And then you just hit us with this, yeah, but what about deaf people who could really value that screen? And you're like, that's a really good point.
It's so true.
It's a really good point. We've got to think about accessibility. What is accessibility? It's for everybody, right? It's not just for one group or another, right? You're building for everyone.
When Alexa came out, a friend of mine who was blind said, this is the most accessible thing in the whole world. But right next to him was someone who was deaf and said, nah, it's a doorstop.
100%.
So whenever people talk about, is it accessible, or they say it's fully accessible, my first question is, well, for whom? And are you sure?
Yeah.
Because something that's accessible for you will not be something accessible for someone who's deaf.
But you talk about the working with other companies, and one example, of course, that was on stage at Google I/O was the work that you're doing with Ira, the visual interpreter service, and one way of bringing in AI into that service. Of course, it's human-based at the moment, but AI can, of course, play a huge role in this. I mean, that's very exciting, really exciting, actually, to see how that can be developed and how Gemini can be used in that way to help us, locate items around the home, possibly even find that restaurant, that front door. The last 10-yard problem we always talk about, finding the door to the restaurant or finding the door to the shop when we get to it.
I thought it was the FFFF, the final freaking 50 feet.
Let's go with that.
That's what I was told, and I love that one.
I prefer that.
What's interesting to me is there's an advantage, and there's advantage to having humans is that it's probably more accurate and you can more easily engage with it, but there's a bit of a delay. If you have, and there's the potential cost of data. If you have it on device, it is going to be instantaneous, but maybe not quite as accurate. And what's neat to me is giving someone the choice. Do I have plenty of data? I'll call a human if the AI isn't giving me what I want. But my hope is the AI will give you what you want, and you use the human as the backup as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, it was very exciting, I've got to say. It was as soon as the glasses came on, I think everyone just stood up and paid attention. It was absolutely fantastic. And I know you're very limited in what you can say, but when can I get my hands on them?
Me first, mate. Me first.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Christopher, thank you for what you do. Keep spreading the word. I know that's one thing that you're very passionate about, is continuing to spread the word. We do our bit here, but please keep doing what you're doing. And thanks once again for coming on and joining us on Double Tap.
You guys are brilliant. Thank you for the opportunity.